turn my stand a little bit like this so I can see what I'm talking to here. Yeah. Looking at this guy over here by himself. It's February. And it's leap year.
Leap year.
You know why it's leap year? You know why it's leap year? Because when there's a presidential election, they need an extra day of campaign. So they always have their election on leap year. You know that, right?
That's right.
Right.
You were born in leap year. You're not as old as you look.
Well, speaking of that, and this is just, I don't know if you know this young lady, but she's an artist here in Winnsboro. Her name is Margaret Iguchi. On the 29th of this month, she turns 80. And there'll be a big party for her at the Red Barn. You know what the Red Barn is down there on 37?
Yeah.
Everybody is welcome. Stop in and say hello. I don't know what time it is yet. I'm sure it's probably 6 or 7 or something like that. You can ask around town and find out when it is. All right. This is what's going on in this burg here. Tomorrow is the last day of the exhibit from Scott Simons, who's out of Austin, who's an abstract artist who grew up here in Winnsboro. So if you want to see it, tomorrow's it. It's going away. Also tomorrow night, up at Mount Vernon, there's a concert at Mount Vernon Music, if you're interested in classical music. They're always good concerts. The next thing at the the next event after that is a Starry Night. It used to be called Starry Night in honor of Vincent van Gogh, but they've changed it this year to A Starry Night. It's on the 7th of March, which I believe is a Saturday night. Tickets are only $50, and it includes dinner and a dance at the Civic Center here in Winnsboro. The band I've heard before, they're a very, very good jazz band. I have a name it's from someplace, but I can't find it. Anyway, it's the big fundraiser for the Center for the Arts. So there'll be both a silent auction of artwork and a live auction. It's always a lot of fun. The dinner is usually great, and so if you can spare the $50, usually it sells out. So get them while you can.
Where's it going to be? I missed it.
At the Civic Center at the park. Somebody is very popular.
Sorry.
On the 14th of March, a young lady named Sophia Talvik will be in town at the Winnsboro Center for the Arts on the Bowery stage. The tickets are $15 general admission, $22 for a little table up front. And then in April, this is a concert not to be missed. It's on the 17th of April. It starts at 7 instead of 7:30. John McEwen will be here. For those of you not familiar with John, he was one of the founding members of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band back in the you-know-when, a long time ago. And so you might want to go and get tickets for that. And we already have advertisements out for Michael Martin Murphy. Michael Martin will be here the weekend of the poetry gathering. Cowboy poetry. It'll be the 16th of October. He'll have 2 concerts, one at 4 in the afternoon, one at 7 in the evening, because normally in the past, that 7 o'clock concert sells out within a week of the tickets being available. And those of us who aren't fast don't get to see him. So this hopefully more of us will get to see him. I've never seen him. He's been here about 8 times. I've never seen him. So that's what's coming up on the Bowery stage and round about Winnsboro. Dan or Doc will tell you about what's happening tomorrow night up at Tinney. I'm sure it's exciting. Whatever it is.
I think it happened last Friday.
Oh, that's right. The third Friday happened the week before
And it
I mean, the third Saturday happened before the third Friday this month. So it's already happened. So you've already missed it. Sorry.
It was great.
I'm sure it was.
Largest crowd I've seen.
Really? Was the music good too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe Dan put out the word that I wasn't singing, and that's why I'm
So that's why they all came. All right. I'm going to read from 3 different books tonight. While moving, I bumped into a book I haven't read from in many years. It's by our old friend Skip Hughes, who used to come to our readings occasionally. He was a guest once. Skip now lives in another state. He's retired. This is from his book, Chuckleberry Chutney, and I'm just going to pick 1 or 2 at random. And read a couple. Okay. This is called The Other Side of Day. If we live by the sun, by the moon, we have dreams. All sorts of lunar influences, it seems. From the self-same inconstant face that abides to the months of our years and the depths of our tides. Has Luna a link, may we dare to suppose, to menstrual rhythms? Nobody knows. But it can't be called absolute lunacy. Plus, since animals react to it, why not us? Neil Armstrong suggested the great dream. How soon? By and by, when we venture beyond our old moon, it's indeed a small step on a very long way. May I yet live to witness it happen, I pray. The Other Side of Day by Skip Hughes. This is called And the Pursuit of Happiness. If happiness were always found by hunting, searching all around, of course I would and rightly should pursue it. Pursuing happiness for life occasions only stress and strife. Word paradigm and ample time to rue it. But Jefferson precisely meant, with metaphorical intent, to each his own, let each alone construe it. The most authentic happiness is not caught in a trap unless the lure's correct to indirectly woo it. It seems that happiness depends on keen pursuits of lesser ends, constructive goals that human souls intuit. Pursue not happiness, I said, if to myself but press instead, to use your skill as well as will can view it. Determined effort is the key, and don't give up naturally. Not easy say, but that's the way to do it. And even then no guarantees are granted with such verities. Assuredly, that's life as we go through it. Skip Hughes, Chuckleberry Chutney. And it is not available for sale. It's my own personal copy.
All right.
I'm going to watch where you go.
Yes, I'm trying to do that. I forgot I found this book. This is a treasury of the familiar, and it has both prose and poetry, but a lot of poetry. I'm just going to read the first couple. You've probably heard these before. I think that's why they call it the treasury of the familiar. It was edited by a fellow named Ralph Woods, who nobody knows and nobody remembers, and it was published in 1944. Copyrighted in 42. This is the 4th printing. I knew you really needed to know that information. Okay, this is called The Way of the World. It was written by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. And I bet you've heard at least some of it. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. For the brave old earth must borrow its mirth, but has trouble enough of its own. Sing and the hills will answer, sigh it is lost on the air. The echoes rebound to a joyful sound and shrink from voicing care. Rejoice and men will seek you, grieve and they turn and go. They want full measure of your pleasure, but they do not want your woe. Be glad and your friends are many. Be sad and you lose them all. There are none to decline your nectared wine, but alone you must drink life's gall. Feast and your halls are crowded. Fast and the world goes by. Forget and forgive, it helps you to live, but no man can help you to die. There's room in the halls of pleasure for a long and lordly train, but one by one we must all march on through the narrow aisles of pain. That's The Way of the World by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. And this is by Thomas More. It's called "'Tis the Last Rose of Summer." And I'm sure you heard this when you were in school a long time ago. "'Tis the last rose of summer left blooming alone. All her lovely companions are faded and gone. No flower of her kindred, no rosebud is nigh, to reflect back her blushes or give sigh for sigh. I'll not leave thee, thou lone one, to pine on the stem. Since the lovely are sleeping, go sleep thou with them. Thus kindly I scatter thy leaves o'er the bed, where thy mates of the garden lie scentless and dead. So soon may I follow when friendships decay, and from love's shining circle the gems drop away. When true hearts lie withered and fond ones are flown, oh, who would inhabit this bleak world alone?" Well, it was a big passage of Shakespeare. I'm going to skip. Anyway, we'll do more of this next one. And then, the book I was reading from last month, with some of the funny stuff, I'm going to read some more of the funny stuff. And then I'll pass the buck here, or pass the podium, as the case may be, or the lectern, I should say. That I learned a long time, very short time ago, that the podium, which I thought was this, is really that. And this is called a lectern, not a podium.
Donna called it a pulpit when we walked in here.
Well, you can call it that too.
No, it's a lectern.
Pulpit is easier because it encompasses both the podium and the lectern. The name of this poem is called A Chronicle. And it was written by Joe Unknown. He's related to Mr. Anonymous. You may have heard of Poetry Anonymous. Well, this is Unknown. Once, but no matter when, there lived, no matter where, a man whose name, but then I need not declare. He had been born, and so he was alive. His age, I detail scorn, was something T&5. He lived, how many years I truly can't decide. But this one fact appears, he lived until he died. He died, I have averred, but cannot prove 'twas so. But that he is interred, at any rate I know. I fancy he a son, I hear he had a wife. Perhaps he more than one, I know not all my life. But whether he was rich or whether he was poor, or neither, both, or which, I cannot say, I'm sure. I can't recall his name, but he used to do, but then, well, such is fame, 'twill so serve me and you. And that is why I thus, about this unknown man, would fain create a fuss to rescue if I can. From dark oblivion's blow, some record of his lot. But I do not know who, where, when, what, why, or what. The moral of this is, in this brief pedigree, a moral we should find, but what it ought to be has quite escaped my mind. Anyway, that was that was a chronicle about some guy. Nobody knows who. This is another unknown personage wrote this, and it's called Methuselah. You remember him, he was an old guy. Methuselah ate what he found on his plate, and never, as people do now, did he note the amount of the calorie count. He ate it because it was chaff. He wasn't disturbed as at dinner he sat, devouring a roast or a pie, to think it was lacking in granular fat or a couple of vitamins shy. He cheerfully chewed each species of food, unmindful of troubles or fears, lest his health might be hurt by some fancy dessert. And he lived over 900 years. That's Methuselah by Joe Unknown. I'd read this, but I can't pronounce the name, so I'm going to go pass by. Okay. This is by Edward Lear, L-E-A-R. I'm not familiar with that guy, so it's called The Nutcrackers and the Silver Tongs. The nutcrackers sate by a plate on the table. The sugar tongs sate by a plate at his side. And the nutcracker said, "Don't you wish you were able, along the blue hills and green meadows to ride? Must we drag on this stupid existence forever, so idle and weary, so full of remorse, while everyone else takes his pleasure and never seems happy unless he is riding a horse? Don't you think we could ride without being instructed, without any saddle or bridle or spur? Our legs are so long and so aptly constructed, I'm sure that an accident could not occur lest us all of a sudden hop down from the table and hustle downstairs and each jump on a horse. Shall we try? Shall we go? Do you think we are able?" The sugar tongs answered distinctly, "Of course." So down the long staircase they hopped in a minute. The sugar tongs snapped and the crackers said crack. The stable was open, the horses were in it. Each took out a pony and jumped on his back. The cat, in a fright, scrambled out of the doorway. The mice tumbled out of a bundle of hay. The brown and white rats and the black ones from Norway screamed out, "They are taking the horses away." The whole of the household was filled with amazement. The cups and the saucers danced madly about. The plates and the dishes looked out of the casement. The salt cellar stood on his head with a shout. The spoons with a chatter looked out of the lattice. The mustard pot climbed up the gooseberry pies. The soup ladle peeped through a heap of veal patties and squeaked like a ladle-like scream of surprise. The frying pan said, "It's an awful delusion." The tea kettle hissed and grew black in the face. And they all rushed down the stairs in the wildest confusion to see the great nutcracker sugar tongue race. And out of the stable with screamings and laughter, their ponies were cream-colored, speckled with brown. The nutcrackers first and the sugar tongues after rode all round the yard and then all round the town. They rode through the street and they rode through the station. They galloped away to the beautiful shore. In silence they rode and made no observation, save this: "We will never go back any more." And still you might hear, till they rode out of hearing, the sugar tongs snap and the crackers say crack, till far in the distance, their forms disappearing, they faded away and they never came back. I'll read one more, another one by Joe Unknown. That's three by Unknown. He's a very prolific writer, this guy Unknown. This is called The Goat. There was a man, now please take note, there was a man who had a goat. He loved that goat, indeed he did. He loved that goat, just like a kid. One day, that goat felt brisk and fine, ate 3 red shirts from off the line. The man, he grabbed him by the back and tied him to a railroad track. But then the train hove into sight. That goat grew pale and green with fright. He heaved the sign as if in pain, coughed up those shirts, and flagged the train.
Let's see. Oops. I'll just bend over.
We can adjust the mic stand for you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can also see.
There we go. How's that? There?
Yeah.
That'll work.
How about you? Okay.
Fine and dandy.
We can hear you.
I'm borrowing a book from Ken Eaton over there. Thank you. I can't read the name on it. That's bad. Who's the author of it, Ken?
Frank Mackey.
Frank Mackey. Okay.
What the book was?
Sure.
Great book.
I found one called Sunset, and then the other one is Longhorn. Makes sense when we live in Texas. Longhorns everywhere. Anyway, I'll start off with Longhorn if I find it. I just had it 2 seconds ago. I know. There it is. Longhorns. They used to be the joy and pride of every man who loved to ride. We boast of their power and strength. We also boast of their length. Like, oh boy, if I can read that word. Like, okay.
It's called an elephant's foot.
Okay, there we go. Like flashing in the sun, those horns flashed when we had to run. That herd 'twas better job to rope a longhorn. Now today we choke. Each mule with the rope of mine. I tell you, it was pretty fine to see those longhorns on the range. Today that sight would be right strange. Those days were full of zest and joy. Why, I remember as a boy, I seen the mighty river filled with horns as water over back spilled, and roots reared up above the tide as they plunged for the other side. I've rode herd in the still night and seen that dad-burned devil's light just leap from horn to clashing horns. It was sight sure as I'm born. That west is gone, I bow in grief. Our packers don't want horns about beef. Go figure. My next one is on sunset. Says it is sunsetting outside. The beauty of an ending day will fairly take your breath. It's been put into verse and into song. One sees God covering up the sun with golden robes of death. That day is dead that seems so well, so strong. The glory of the sinking sun delight in human eye as color floods the prairie's distant rim. The rear of God's own trail, heard still, lingers in the sky. But now their red gold dust is turned dim. Now comes that wonder afterglow that paints the scattered clouds. You ought to note this stillness in the air. It is because ghost riders of the range rushed by in crowds to catch the trail herd that has passed you there. They're gone. The hills turn purple as shadows on the range begin to lengthen neath each pale star's light. Coyotes sing their evening hymns in notes both weird and strange. They wait the coming moon for now, 'tis night. Who's next?
I'm saying.
Oh, Lord. Can you get up there, you want?
Thank you.
Is that working for you? No. She's too tall.
I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you.
Remember, this is being recorded.
Don't pick your nose.
Well, we all know that this month has been February and it's almost gone. But one thing about February, it's about sweethearts, candy, Valentine. So I thought this poem was very appropriate for it. Valentine month. To some folks, February means a lot of changing weather. And it is true, it grows quite rough with snow and rain together. But February brings to me a vision quite divine. February brings to me a nice red Valentine.
Woohoo!
Things in my mouth. Most everybody knows that I like Helen's Tiny Rice, so I'll read a couple of them that I like to do. Words can say so little. Today is an occasion for complaints and praise, and saying many of the things we don't say other days. For often through the passing days, we feel deep known down inside, unspoken thoughts of thankfulness and fond admiring pride. But words can say no little when the heart is overflowing, and often those we love the most just have no way of knowing the many things the heart conceals and never can impart. For words seem no inadequate to express what's in your heart. Yeah, and on this last one, it's about friendship. So, the gift of friendship. Friendship is a priceless gift that cannot be bought or sold, but its value is far greater than a mountain made of gold. For gold is cold and lifeless, and it can neither see nor hear, and in the time of trouble, it is powerless to cheer. It has no ears, no listen to listen, no heart to understand. It cannot bring you comfort or reach out a helping hand. So when you ask God for a gift, be thankful if He sends not diamonds, pearls, or riches, but the love of a real true friend.
All right.
What's that, cherry pie?
I'm sorry, that was Helen Cider Rice. Those last two were, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you said you had trouble with your knees. I was just wondering if you got rooked on the knees. You said, how much you said it cost?
$74,000.
See?
Well, thank y'all for being here. I know that some of you are here, at least one, because I was going to read. The rest of you got stuff to do it anyway. So I was gonna read.
Yes.
I asked Doc, didn't he tell everybody that I was going to read tonight? And he said, no, but I'm sure going to find out who did. He said, that's the reason ain't many people here. Somebody mentioned the nitty-gritty dirt band. That's right. I'll tell you what my connection is. The lead guitar player for the nitty-gritty dirt band is a guy named Charles Fadden, who worked for me for 5 years as I was director of aircraft maintenance down in the Naval Training Command. So he volunteered his son to come play at my daughter's wedding. But something came up and he did not make it. But he gave me a lot of his tapes from the nitty-gritty dirt band. Anyway, Charles Fadden, he was a tech rep from some aircraft companies. Made some of the jets that we were using for pilot training there. He became my good friend, and he was still there when I left. I would have put on my glasses. This is a poem called Mockingbirds, and I think it's supposed to rhyme. I'm going to try to read it so that it does. So I heard a fellow say a thing I thought was mighty dirty. He said a mockingbird could imitate birds numbering 30. I wondered what that bozo drank or what he had just ate. Last night I heard a mockingbird, and I'm wondering yet, what does he mean, imitate? Of course, 'tain't none of my biz, but every note that bird there sung, I knowed them notes was his. The good Lord must have figured out when he was passing by that we all like some singing and that all birds can't be nice. Just when we like to hear them, when old trouble we must tote, so he took the songs of 30 birds and put them in one throat. I ain't much on religion, you can bet your life on that. But when I hear a mockingbird, I just take off my hat. For somehow, I just seem to feel as God goes riding by, that in them songs from just one bird, it makes him always nice. That's a Frank Mackie. We tried to research Frank Mackie, and there is nothing on Frank Mackie anywhere that we can find, you know. But he autographed that book in 1942 to some lady he was proposing to, is what it looks like to me. Well, anyway, my second reading here is also from Mackie. It's called Bad Mistake. You gotta wait till we get to the last verse to figure out what this mistake was. It was me and Hank and Slim and Bill that decided to take a spree. So Bill said he would go get the stuff. Well, then that left us three to cook and snack at the old sawmill and to gather our own firewood and hope that Bill would with some luck, would bring back stuff that was good. Our grub was ready when Bill came back, so each of us had a round. It was hot as a desert in July, made me spit upon the ground where I swear blue flame shot up at me. Then I heard the man told Billy that he spilled some on his violet bed. Next day, wrote a tiger lily. Well, we drunk the darn stuff, all of it, and made us want to prance. So each man made a crown of leaves and started a native dance. It was funny as heck that day out there, but now I can't see the joke. Just why did I have to get my leaves from a dad-burned poison oak? Bad mistake. And then those of you who were Kenny Chapel a week ago tonight heard a song that I'm going to try to sing here, not sing, but read. Turned into kind of a poem. The song was written by Bill Carlisle, so does anybody know what song I'm talking about? He didn't write many of them.
Too old to cut the mustard.
He wrote that, yeah, he sure did. But that ain't the one that made him rich. Let me just read it, and you'll know who sang it. One of our performers sang this last Friday night. It said, most of my friends that I loved long ago are gone. They have gone home. The songbirds that sing so clearly from the trees seem to say they have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. Now they're walking on streets of gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. They've gone home. Life here is lonely since they've gone before, and the old weeping willow that stands by the door sadly sings, they have gone home. The trumpet will sound on that great judgment day, and all can say, we've gone home. Bill Carlisle, arranged by Kenny. Remember who sang that song?
George?
Friday night?
Yeah, it's John, wasn't it?
John Skelton sang that song, Gone Home. Did a good job on it too. I was impressed with it, and I decided to look it up, and I've played it a dozen times. Also, I listened to Too Old to Cut the Mustard while I was in there listening to it. He wrote some other songs called No Help Wanted, Dirty Old Man, Blue Scruggs, they got a big hit out of Gone Home, and Ricky Skaggs with the Kentucky Thunder, and the Grateful Dead. The reason I raised that issue, he said, I got a statement on that song, and it said it was going to be recorded and done by the Grateful Dead. He said, I had no idea who that was. Of course, you know, Bill was born in 1908, and he died in 2003. He'd never heard of the Grateful Dead, so he said, I called my son and said, who is this people, the Grateful Dead, that's going to sing my song? He said, when you get that first check, you're going to know them well. He said, it turned out just like that. When I got that first check, they became family all of a sudden. He made the most money off of the recording done by the Grateful Dead. Thank you.
The old man sat quietly in the corner of the bar as the young men talked of exploits they had, of rivers they'd crossed and wells gone dry, and good days fewer than bad. They yipped and howled about their lives as cowboys on the range, and slapped each other on the back, out telling one another the stories of their fame. Of tall tales there was no lack. The old man, tired of listening, rose to take his leave, when one young brag eyed him as he passed. He tips his hat in salute, for he knew what he had seen, a legend in his time that would not last. He rangered down in Texas, drove cattle to the north, wagon lost a train across the Great Divide. He brought law to the west and bucked all that nature gave, and in the hearts of cowboys never died. The young man raised his glass as he stood up from his chair. Here's to all who came before, may they live forever in our minds. They're the best that ever were, because good cowboys are mighty hard to find. That's from Norman Edward from Beggs, Oklahoma.
All right. One of my favorite old actors was Walter Brennan.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, he recorded quite a few different songs, but every one of them I ever heard was he just kind of, talked about, told the story and all that. And one that I had thought about that I decided I would read, I'm going to end up singing later, but it's called The Farmer and the Lord. He said, while resting one evening by the side of the road, I seen an old farmer in a field he just sowed. His face was all brown and wrinkled by the wind, and he was talking to the Lord just like he was talking to a friend. Well, sir, he said, in a voice calm and quiet, those corn tassels need sacking, but got no string to tie it. Had no rain in so long that the fields is mighty dusty. It's been so unbearably hot that the kids even getting fussy. Now that grass down in the pasture, it should be about knee high. If we could just have a little shower, Lord, it might keep the cow from going dry. Listen to me talking. You'd think I was ungrateful. Why, if you didn't know me, Lord, you'd think I was downright hateful. You'd think I'd forgot about the new calf that you sent me, the money in the mail that took care of the rent. Ma's coal is better. Johnny's home from the Navy. And the good old Sunday dinner of chicken dumplings and gravy. The new preacher you sent us, Lord, he sure is a fine young man. Why, he's just converting them sinners to beat the band. Well, guess I'll be moseying along, Lord. Won't take no more of your time. Guess there's plenty of folks here about waiting to ring your line. Evening of you, Lord, watch over us tonight, and don't you worry none about us, Lord, because everything's gonna be just right. Over, Brendan.
Testing, testing. Okay. There was a reference to, in Doc's poem, to other people wanting to maybe ring the Lord's line. And it reminded me of my early days at Tenney Chapel. At that time, the official, we didn't even know there was a Methodist hymnal. Didn't know one existed. We had a hymn book called Worldwide Church Songs. This is when I was a teenager, Tenney Chapel. And that book, Worldwide Church Songs, was published by Stamps Quartet Music Company. Not Stamps Baxter, Stamps Quartet Music Company. And it had a song in there called Royal Telephone. And it was my favorite of all the songs in there at that time. And my Aunt Alma Tenney played the piano by ear. Her daughter, Maxine Tenney, led the singing. And it was always by request. You know, people, the congregation would call out song, your favorite song, you know, and she would turn to that page and we would sing it. And I was always calling for the Royal Telephone. Later, many years later, Burl Ives, I don't know when he recorded it, but many years later I discovered that Burl Ives had recorded that song. So that became one of my favorite Burl Ives songs. Also, I mentioned that for what it's worth, FYI to everybody, that date that Conrad mentioned, that the 2020 Cowboy Poetry event conflicts with the date for that month's Live Poets Society. So we have some planning to do. And maybe Doc and Conrad and I can meet after we get done here and talk about that a little bit as to how we want to deal with that. I have a poem here to read. It's really like Doc's, it's a song actually. You may have heard Jerry Jeff Walker sing this song. He wrote this song, or the poem, whichever you want to call it, as well. Jerry Jeff Walker. And he calls it, the title of it is Charlie Donna. That name might ring a bell with someone. If it does, raise your hand. Okay, it doesn't ring a bell. Charlie Donna. That's the name of the poem. It's not a very long poem, and I'm going to read it. Well, if you're ever in Austin, Texas, a little rundown on your soul, I'm going to tell you the name of a man to see. I'm going to tell you right where to go. He's working in Capitol Saddlery, and he's sewing in the back of the place. He is old Charlie Donna, the little, frail one, with the smiling, leathery face. Charlie Donna, he is the one to see. Charlie done the boots that are on my feet. It makes Charlie real pleased to see me walking with ease. Charlie Donna, he's the one to see. Charlie's been making boots over there, he says, about 50 some odd years. And once you wear a pair of his handmade boots, you know you'll never wear a store-bought pair. Charlie can tell you what's wrong with your feet just by feeling them with his hand. And he can take a look at the boots you wear and know. Now Buck's up front. He's counting his gold. Charlie's in the back patching up the soles of the people coming in, smiling at him. They all wonder, how's old Charlie been? And old Buck's making change. He never sees no one. He never understood the good thing that Charlie done. Yeah, old Charlie never had his name on the sign. He never put a mark in his boots. He just hopes that you remember him same way that he does you. He keeps your measurement in this little book so you can order more boots later on. Well, I'm writing down some of old Charlie's size because I'm making him up this song. Yeah, old Buck's making change. He never sees no one. He never understood the good thing that Charlie done. Buck was Buck Steiner. He was the owner of the place that Charlie worked at and made most of the boots that he made. Toward the end, and that's the end of the poem, but I have a few words to say about it. Toward the end of my senior year at Winnsboro High School, I was lucky enough to be elected state FFA president. And I decided to put off college, delay college for a year, to serve in that capacity. I was the first state president to do that. And within just a few years, it became a requirement that the state FFA president take a year off and serve full-time as state president, even though there was no salary involved with the job. It was an honor job that all the past state presidents from then on had gladly done. What happened, though, that year, after I was lucky enough to be elected to that office, my FFA advisor was named Bill Pollard, and he's the reason that I was elected state FFA president. Absent him, and that never would have happened, he changed my life. Changed it for the better in many, many ways. One of the things he did after that election and before I started serving in that capacity was the Winnsboro FFA chapter had 4 honorary members. One of them was Mr. Ferguson, who was the superintendent of the school. Another one was Mr. Tenney, who used to have a feed store down here on Market Street, and who at that time was on the school board. One of the others was a Mr. Woosley, who was chairman of the school board. And Mr. Pollard, my ag teacher, talked to those honorary members of the FFA chapter. And since Winnsboro had never had a state president before, he suggested that they consider chipping in the money to have the new state president a pair of handmade boots made. And they agreed to do that. And Mr. Pollard drove me down to Austin, a capital salary, where old Buck never saw me, but old Charlie Dunn took my measurements and made these boots. Those are Charlie Dunn boots. And I've had the pleasure of telling a few friends about them from time to time when the subject of cowboy boots came up. And one, John Rusnagel, who was a crops editor at Farm Journal in Philadelphia back in the day, and one time at one of the Farm Journal meetings, somehow the subject of cowboy boots came up, and he mentioned this song that Jerry Jeff sings about Charlie Dunn. And I just casually mentioned later, I said, well, you know, that I happen to have a pair of boots that Charlie Dunn had made, and he went bananas, you know. Now, I didn't have the boots at the meeting to show them to him or anything like that, but he took my word for it, and he was, like I say, he was impressed would be, you know, putting it mildly. And at the time that Charlie Dunn made these boots for me, I had no idea that he was going to become the legendary bootmaker that he has become. And one of the reasons that he's become legendary is because of this song that Jerry Jeff Walker wrote and sung and still sings. So I wore those boots all over the state of Texas. You know, there's a Ernest Tubb song called Waltz Across Texas with You. It's kind of a love song, you know, but I often think of these boots when I hear him sing that song. And of course, when Jerry Jeff sings his song, naturally I think about these. I didn't know enough at that time to get a picture of Charlie Dunn and me together. Neither did Mr. Pollard have any idea. In fact, I don't think we even knew anything about Charlie Dunn, and the reason we had the boots made at that particular place was Mr. Pollard drove me to the state office for the FFA program in Austin, and it was there that he asked the state advisor where would be a good place to have some handmade boots made. And what he told, I remember what he told him. He said, Buck Steiner, that's where you need to go to get your boots made. Well, yeah, but Buck Steiner didn't have anything to do with making the boot. You know, it's pretty much the way Jerry Jeff tells it. You know, he was the businessman, but the man who became the legend was the little frail man who could feel run his hand along your arch top of your foot and tell you a lot about your feet, or if anything ailed, if your feet ailed you or anything like that, he could probably tell you that. Anyway, that's my point for today. And today's concluding paragraph from How to Read a Poem and Falling in Love with Poetry by Edward Hirsch is as follows. There is a great poignance to this quest for contact in the privileging of touch over sight. Since in a poem, touch must necessarily be metaphorical or symbolic. It cannot be literal or literally realized. Now, that is actually the 3 lines of this one paragraph. I'm going to read the the following paragraph, since that one is so short, because it goes into a little bit more about that point that he's making. So we get in 2 paragraphs today. In the first poem of In Memoriam, Tennyson asked, "Who shall reach a hand through time to catch the far-off interest of tears?" It's a good question. In the longing for direct contact, is that enough? Can it suffice for a poet's hand to reach across time, or a reader's hand? Each of the following poems raises the subject of our interconnectedness. I'll try to say it again. Interconnectedness. And each summons up the desire for such connectedness. It is the desire of solitaries. The sweat of the poet's hand still clings to each of these poems if we but let ourselves feel it. I think that's wonderful, you know. Think about that last line. The sweat of the poet's hand still clings to each of these poems if we but let ourselves feel it. So ends our meeting.
I look at your boots.
Yeah.
You do?
I'm sorry.
Do you mind,
Oh, no, I have to say.
That's fascinating.
Oh, the FFA, of course. The blue and national blue and corn gold were and are the official colors of the FFA. And so we asked Charlie Dunn to make them in the colors of the FFA, and to have the FFA, the words or the letters FFA right on the front of each one of them.
Was there something, why you made them square toe boots? Or that was just his choice?
Mr. Pollard told Charlie Dunn to make them walking heels. And I think, and that was the only instruction that he was given other than the color and the FFA. I think that was Charlie's, I think that was just the way he, when you had a walking heel, I think he assumed you wanted that kind of, or at least he wanted that kind of toe. It was not a specific request.
Do you remember what year you had those made?
Yes, it was the spring of 1952.
And what did a good pair of boots cost back then?
I don't know. I think, and I never saw any figures or anything, but I know that I got the impression that from Mr. Pollard that each of those 4 honorary members chipped in $50. So I guess it was probably around $200.
Which would be $600 today.
I guess, yeah.